Morning edition of RKW brewed by 8th and Roast. Of course, the Buck Rising Show up next at the top of the hour. But still a big Titans discussion to have this morning that we invite your participation on at 615-737-1045 and in the F&M Bank chat on 1045 The Zone TV. Among pending free agents in the AFC South, who do you want the most? If you can take one AFC South free agent away from one of your rivals, who is it going to be? So before we get into this and answer the question ourselves, it is important to understand some of the guys who are available and how much money teams of the AFC South have to spend. And essentially the problem is for the Titans that everybody's got cash in the AFC South. It does not smell like broke in this division. So Indianapolis has the fifth most cap dollars at $66.3 million of open space, according to Spot Track. Houston right behind them with the seventh most cap dollars available at $61 million, according to Spot Track. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars have the 18th most cap dollars at $17.2 million. If you are stealing one pending free agent in the AFC South, who do you want?
Oh, so we don't even get to pick each team. We got to go all over. Like the whole thing.
That was the plan. But if you want to pick one per team, we can.
I'll roll.
I'll just pick one.
You got them? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm going with what their needs are right now. And specifically, I feel like you need to add a couple guys in this room. And it's probably a popular choice, but it's one of the free agents in the wide receiver group that I think would be a good fit. Still very young with Michael Pittman out of Indianapolis at 26 years old. That clearly has done a lot in his last two seasons in Indianapolis. And just reading some of, the stats from last year, played in 16 games, which is durable, right? Mm-hmm. Played in 16 games the year before, 17. So durability is there for this wide receiver in Michael Pittman. Also last year, over 1,000 yards. He had 1,152 yards, 4 touchdowns. A guy that clearly, I think if you added him and paid some money, yes, it's going to take a little money, but you added him to that wide receiver room, and then let's say possibly you do draft a speedier guy as well. We'll see what happens with Treylon Burks, but at least then with D-Hop, and you have another guy with experience but still young, you have a little bit more in that wide receiver room. And plus, heck, he's coming from Indy. Like Will said before, you know how it was with Autry. I always like that chip when they have to play their former team.
Oh, yeah. It's on me next. We're going.
Send it.
Oh, you got it? One of the most important positions, kicker, Kaimi Fairbairn.
Oh.
Woo! He's throwing us for a loop.
Off the beaten path.
Look at that.
Kaimi Fairbairn came back. I saw him kick well against the Titans when they played down there. The consistency that he has, the ability of his leg to kick from 50-plus. This year, his longest was 54. Last year, his longest was 56. As longest he's ever had is 61 yards.
Pretty good.
He knows how to put points up on the board. Had a little bit of, I think, a hamstring issue or something like that this year. But you want to talk about clutch, being able to put it through the H's, the uprights, whatever you want to call them, kickoffs and everything. Kaimi Fairbairn is a guy you can sign long-term that fills that Nick Folk's absence. And that is something I think that we are overlooking somewhat. If you can get a proven guy like him in free agency at a fair price, that can last you for the next 7 years, whatever it may be, you get a guy like him.
Because he's 30, but there's still a lot of life in kickers, so.
He'll kick till he's 42 at this point.
Yeah, 30's young for a kicker.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's not old.
Point.
Interesting. Brandon McManus, also a free agent in Jacksonville.
Mm.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
I like Kaimi. Either
Got
one.
kickers out there.
Fairbairn's good. I mean, Fairbairn made a kick to beat the Titans this year, beat the Whalers.
Sure did.
Would have been a tie otherwise.
And I just saw the response from their fan base whenever he strolled back out there in Houston, the game they ended up playing him. Yeah, they were excited
when you
about
were
him.
down there?
Yeah, they were excited about him.
The two players of all of these that I want the most are both likely going to go back to Indianapolis. I don't think Indy's going to let Michael Pittman go. Spot Track estimates he'll get $22.7 million a year, had 1,152 yards this year, which is a new career high. 4 touchdowns and 900-plus yards in each of his full healthy seasons. Michael Pittman. I would love to make that move. I just don't think he's going to be available. And I feel the same way with the guy that I would love to have at corner. in Kenny Moore. I think Colts nickel Kenny Moore is the kind of defensive back the Titans would love. He is a great pass rush corner coming off of those nickel blitzes. He has a sack in 5 of his 6 seasons in the NFL. 3 interceptions this year after none in 2022. Kenny Moore had 4 picks in 2021 and 4 picks as well in 2020. And he told reporters on Locker Room Cleanout Day, I obviously want to be here, want to be in Indy. That's been obvious throughout my entire career. Nothing has been a facade. And he's been open that he wants to be in Indianapolis. But he has been a very important leader within that locker room in Indy. And he was the team's Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee in 2021. When I look at options for the Titans with veterans, I want a guy that's going to come into that room and is going to help develop the guys you're about to draft as well. And at corner specifically, where they have to make a move for somebody in free agency. A guy within the division who is a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, who's going to do a lot of different things for you on the inside, is very attractive to me, especially if Elijah Molden is still a safety. I'm interested to see what Denard Wilson thinks of him, because if Elijah Molden goes back to being a nickel, maybe your need for a nickel corner you're paying a lot of money for and maybe $10 to $12 million a year for is less. Or maybe you just decide, look, we'll have both of you here, and Elijah Molden, you're a backup now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you need those too, because we've seen how it's gone in the secondary in the past.
Yeah, seriously. That needs to be an upgrade in the secondary for sure, especially in today's game.
So Indianapolis Colts free agents, I think they have the most good fits.
I do too.
They've got Grover Stewart, defensive tackle, half a sack in 11 games this past year, run stopper on the inside. I think that's another position the Titans could go shop with or go shop on as a run-stopping guy to play inside of Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry if he's back. Kenny Moore, Gardner Minshew, Michael Pittman, Isaiah McKenzie, Zach Moss.
Running back, yeah.
Is a free agent.
I like that.
Yeah.
Older.
Moss
Isn't
has
Zach
burned
older?
The Titans.
He's not that old.
He's not? I thought he was
See
older.
how old he is. By the way, the quarterback, in terms of the backup, is something that's going to be real fun to talk about, too, here.
The backup
'Cause we
quarterback
have
here?
no clue what's going on.
Zach Moss is 26.
Is it still Malik? Like, are they going to give Malik a chance? You still got to bring in a veteran to compete for that
you
backup
do.
spot, if you're, in my opinion.
Veteran name is Josh Dobbs.
That's the rumbling.
Yeah, and it could be. And
No,
it
that-
very well could be.
That is the rumbling that
You know?
you hear, is that maybe they want to work out something with Dobbs again.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you another guy that I like that's off the beaten path as far as poaching from another team that's been somewhat of a he's been underwhelming in his career so far. Kelvin Chason. He's yet to tap into any potential that he had coming out as a former first rounder out of LSU.
He's
There's
an
more in
athletic
him.
freak.
And
There's
if
more in him.
you have him in an attacking defense the way Denard Wilson said he likes, with the right guidance and the right coaches around him, I'm optimistic in his ability to turn out some plays for you. You look at his side to side, he has it. You look at his pursuit and will and want to play, he has that too. He's just had a guy in Jacksonville by the name of Josh Allen come in and just steal his thunder. Then from that, you go get a number 1 overall pick again at outside rush at his position. You can somewhat, I think, get a guy like him for the cheap. Put him in the right style of defense. Get him a little ticked off because you somewhat had an underwhelming start to your career. He's only got 5 career sacks in 4 years that he's been in Jacksonville.
And he was a big name coming out.
Yes, he was. I'd venture to see him and extend a contract to him. That's where I'm at.
That's not bad. I'm not against that, Ramon.
You've got Nashville native Derek Barnett, who will be a free agent as well. Guy who's played a lot as a 4-3 defensive end, and I think that's the maybe issue with him coming here is, what does this scheme look like? Are you willing to put in someone that's been more of a 4-3 guy throughout his career into a 3-4? Or what even is the Titans scheme on defense?
You know what's funny about it, though? Is 3-4 and 4-3 it's more 4-3 these days anyway, because so many teams line up in subsets.
Yeah.
Base nickel.
Base nickel.
That's what
you
the
got
Titans
4
have been in
rushers.
a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Because that has not been detailed to us yet. When we asked that question about what type it's been a very broad answer, which I'm sure they've got something that they're working on. But Yeah.
And that may have been a fair answer that he didn't
And
give
it was.
one.
I think it was.
Because he don't know what the personnel is
Exactly.
and what free agency and all those types of things may
Pieces
be.
got to be put together.
They do have to. I think this team has been primarily a 4-3 team. Big Jeff is a D tackle, not a D end. I don't see you moving him out unless it's unless he's willing to accept that 5 technique playing.
In the F&M Big Chat, Lonzo writes in and says, y'all just want Dobbs, LOL. It was actually Rhett Bryan, who does not have a diploma from Tennessee, who on Blaine and Mickey a week and a half ago was the one who said he thinks Josh Dobbs could make sense for a potential return as backup quarterback. So that is not us as Vols grads saying that we want Dobbs.
So tell us, Lonzo, who would you like?
I think he would like Mississippi State to not get swept by Austin Peay in baseball the last 2 days, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Shout out to the Govs, man.
Shout out to the Govs.
We got a lot of listeners
They have
up
a
in
good-
Clarksville.
they
Shout
have
out to
a good
Austin Peay,
team.
man.
I see you, Gerald Harrison
They
up
have a
there.
good
2 wins
team
in a
up
row.
there.
That's big.
And Vol or not, you guys, he's proven he can be a durable backup that can come in, get the job done when needed. Like what? I don't know if there's anything to argue against that. What has he not shown?
Stay out of the way as the backup. Help guide the franchise
Right.
quarterback. Smart enough to read the defense and
Team
help
guy.
out on sidelines on game day. That's what a backup quarterback is.
Somebody in the F&M Bank chat, I want to make sure it was Olivia who said it. Make sure I give proper credit. Said, what about Jake Browning for backup quarterback? I think that's a great option.
He's looking for starter money, though.
But I agree. I think he'll go somewhere that has a little bit of doubt within the starting situation. And there's no doubt that Will Levis is not going to get benched because of performance and be replaced by a backup here. I feel like he's going somewhere like Atlanta that might take a chance on a veteran, or heck, I'd even think he'd be a fit in New England. Somewhere like that, where you've got a quarterback you're about to draft and you want to bring in somebody else to compete. Like if J.J. McCarthy's the guy in Atlanta, do you sign Jake Browning to be the bridge quarterback in case J.J. McCarthy's not ready to play day one?
Or do you get him into Minnesota? That's
Right.
possibly going to lose Kirk, or Washington for that matter, right?
And Mark mentions Jacoby Brissett as a much better backup than Dobbs. Jacoby Brissett, again, is another guy who's going to go somewhere with a better chance to play, in my opinion. I mean, you could disagree with me, but
Jacoby Brissett also couldn't beat out Sam Howell last year. So
I know.
I don't know how well that
Brissett's
would
stock
go
has
over.
gone down just a little bit.
5 years ago, he was absolutely
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, but
Right,
it's gone down
right.
since then, in my opinion.
Spotrac, by the way, has Jake Browning's contract evaluated at 1 year,
Yep.
$5.2 million. Is that too rich for your blood?
That's
Probably.
spot on. That's too. You're talking about as a backup or a starter?
as a backup
Backup.
here, I think that's too
I
expensive.
think Chase. Well, here possibly the backup quarterbacks have been getting around that 5 to 7. Truthfully,
Well, that's true. Dobbs' market value, they say, is 6.7 mil. So.
is it?
And remember, annual salary does not equal cap hit.
Correct.
It is not the same thing. So if they give them someone $30 million a year, the cap hit is not that. The cap hit is a much smaller number.
You're right.
So
All
he,
right,
he
well,
was making
I don't know.
$750 last year with the Bengals.
$750K, yep.
Yeah.
With Jake Browning?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good buzz at the end of the season. We'll see
Yeah.
what that looks like in free agency for him. The same conversation being had about Mason Rudolph in Pittsburgh, too. It's like he had a great ending, but what does that actually translate over into money terms? Because it might just be, well, you just have played well down the stretch, and that's it.
Other AFC South pending free agents we have not mentioned. Calvin Ridley in Jacksonville is estimated to get a $17 million a year contract from somebody.
And he is,
1,000 yards in 2 straight healthy seasons.
he is not expected to come back to Jacksonville because
Correct.
if they do, they have to exchange the third-round pick that Atlanta currently holds for a second-round pick. So I've seen a lot of Jags fans talking about
Dang.
let him hit free agency so the qualifications of that trade are no longer hit, and then sign him. But Calvin Ridley on the open market is going to cost a lot prettier of a penny than he would if he was in your back pocket.
That's correct.
17 is probably what the re-sign is. Free open market is probably about 22, 23.
How would you guys feel about Jonathan Greenard?
I love Jonathan Greenard. I'm going to be real. I'm a fan.
Give Simmons a running mate.
I'm talking. I am all in on helping Big Jeff in this defense. I am. I was just gonna say too. I'm in on Grover Stewart. I think he gets the job done. I'm in on Greenard. If we're talking about poaching people that understands how to play in this division, yeah, those two right there, that'll wet your whistle.
Oh, real quick, somebody just texted me and said, I think Browning is an exclusive rights free agent, so he probably is going to be
Can't go
back in
nowhere.
Cincy next year.
That happens when you're an undrafted guy. You make the team, you play, and they get your rights for you.
So they would have to tender him, though, correct, Ramon?
They got to extend that.
So
yeah.
potentially he could be a free agent if they don't see the value in first round, second round exclusive right tender.
That's the same thing Jawan Jennings is going through right now. Yep.
Makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah, and just to answer the question about whether or not he'd be a good fit here from the person in the chat, Browning.
Oh, Brown. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Even if it's not something that's realistic here, I do think that's the kind of player you're looking for.
But you got to be strategic. You know, I've always kind of said you got to be strategic in your backup quarterback.
Absolutely.
You can't have a guy with, hate to say this, but starter aspirations.
Yeah, it's got to be politically.
Yes.
right.
Johnny
The way you're
Manziel
doing it.
talked about that in the interview we referenced earlier about when he got to Cleveland. Brian Hoyer was so much farther along and had not had an opportunity in a room to be a starter. So when Hoyer noticed he had a leg up, he did not help Manziel at all. And even in the room, dogged him in front of everyone.
Wow.
I remember. Yeah.
Calvin Ridley ran a 4.43 40 at his NFL Combine in 2018.
He still got it, man. Just,
Absolutely.
Just don't make any bets in the Titans facility.
He had
That's all I
1,000
gotta
yards
say if
this
he
year.
comes here.
You're paying highest bidder at that point for
Yeah.
a guy like him.
I would pay Calvin
want
Ridley
Pittman
$20
still.
million a year.
You would?
Absolutely.
Would you
I
like him or Pittman better?
Ridley?
You know what the conversation's going to be? Why didn't you do it for AJ?
Oh, of course,
geez.
but that GM's not here
At
anymore.
least we have a new staff,
dealing
right?
with that too. By the way, I saw him tweeting through it last night, man.
Who?
AJ?
AJ was tweeting through it again.
Still on there, huh?
He's
Groundhog
talking about
Day.
that Philly media and how it's something
We
every
could have all told you that,
day.
AJ.
We knew
We could have
this.
told you that.
Heavy is the head who gets the big bag.
I
It's
say
different.
Ridley
Yes.
too because I think he is available and Pittman isn't.
Yeah, and that, okay.
I
that
think
goes
Pittman's
into
going
it.
back to Indy.
Sure.
615-737-1045. Final call for phone calls. Wrap up the show. Get to headline.